Hey guitar fanatics, in this lesson I'm going to show you 3 easy fretboard hacks that are going to open up the entire guitar neck for you. Have you ever watched a really skilled guitarist play a passage where they move from one end of the guitar to the other effortlessly and you wonder, how did they do that? Well, I know I did. I also remember being taught all these box patterns that move vertically across the guitar neck. And while you can do a lot of very cool things staying in a small space on the neck of the guitar, there are times where it sounds just amazing to move from the lower registers up to some screaming high notes. Or say you're already playing up high and you need a way to play melodic patterns and get down to the lower registers again to change the mood. Well, in those cases, we need to play what we call horizontally. I'm going to show you 3 easy ways to do just that. Once you learn them, you'll be flying around the neck in no time, so grab your guitar. Let's get into our first horizontal hack. And that's horizontal pentatonic scale patterns. Now, the pentatonic scale is almost always the first scale that a guitarist learns. And we almost always learn it with a series of 5 box patterns that have 2 notes per string. Now, 2 notes per string makes it easy to memorize, and it also sets up perfectly for alternate picking. So it's kind of a natural for newer players. And you can get a lot of mileage out of staying in one spot and playing a lot of really cool blues licks. But there's going to come a time where you want to cover more ground on the neck or play a longer passage. And then you're going to need what we call a horizontal pentatonic pattern. So we're going to be playing in the key of G today. G major pentatonic has the notes G, A, B, D, and E. Now, E minor pentatonic has those same notes, if that helps you visualize the scale. And here's the hack to playing this scale horizontally. If we start on the G at the 3rd fret of the low E string, we can play the notes G and A at fret 5. Then we're going to slide up to the B at fret 7. Now that puts us in a position to play the D and E at frets 5 and 7 of the A string. And we've just established a little pattern. G, A, slide into B with D and E on the next string. Now, guess what's at fret 5 of the D string? It's another G note, and we can play the exact same patterns on frets 5, 7, 9 of the D string and frets 7 and 9 of the G string. We'll find another G note at fret 8 of the B string, and our pattern repeats at frets 8, 10, and 12 of the B string, and frets 10 and 12 of the high E. Well, this is pretty awesome already. We just played from the 3rd fret of the low E string to the 12th fret of the high E string, but I promised we were going to open up the entire guitar neck, right? So what we're going to do is shift up to the G at fret 15 of the high E string, and we're going to descend through pattern 5 of G major pentatonic or pattern 1 of E minor pentatonic, however you're visualizing it. And here's the next part of the hack. When we get to the E at fret 12 of the low E string, we're going to shift down to the D at fret 10. Play D and E at frets 10 and 12. And we've got a G at fret 10 of the A string, which means we can start our horizontal pattern moves all over. So we've got G, A, B at frets 10, 12, and 14, and D and E at frets 12 and 14 of the D string. We've got another G, A, B at frets 12, 14, and 16 of the G string, D and E at frets 15 and 17 of the B string. And there's G, A, B again at frets 15, 7, 19 of the high E. Now, there's still some more frets we need to get to, so let's descend through G major pentatonic box pattern 2. That pattern ends on A at fret 17. We can easily go to the G at fret 15. And now we can start our horizontal moves over again. We've got G, A, B at frets 15, 17, and 19. D and E at frets 17 and 19 of the A string. We've got G, A, B at frets 17, 19, and 21 of the D string. D and E at frets 19 and 21 of the G string. G, A, B at frets 20, 22, and 24 of the B string. And D and E at frets 22 and 24 of the high E string. Now, your guitar might not have 24 frets. I use this guitar specifically to show you that if I start with the open low E string, that I can play from the low E to the E at the 24th fret of the high E, literally covering the entire fretboard. I had to keep that promise of opening up the entire fretboard for you. Let me use these patterns to play a little bit over an Allman Brothers style 2-chord backing track going from a G major chord to a C major chord. Have a listen. Okay, so that's hack number one, and it just so happens that the technique we just learned is going to kind of overlap with horizontal hack number two, and that's using something I call a triad plus one to move around the fretboard. Now, this second technique or hack is something that I call triads plus one, because we're going to be taking triad shapes and adding one more note, either the second interval or the fourth interval, to come up with melodic patterns that are going to allow us to move around the neck. Now, I said that our first technique and this second technique sort of overlap. That's because the horizontal pentatonic pattern we were using, it had the notes G, A, B, D, and E. It's pretty similar to the moves we're going to be making with these triads plus one. These are only going to be 4 notes, however. When we're ascending, we're going to play the notes of the G major triad, G, B, and D, but we're also going to add in the A note. So again, we can play G, A, and slide to B, like our pentatonic pattern, but then we're only going to play the D note before going to the next octave G at the 5th fret of the D string. We're going to repeat our pattern with G, A, B, D on the D and G strings. And then we've got the next octave G at fret 8 of the B string. And we can again play G, A, B, and D. So far, we've got this. And it seems like we've run out of strings, but here's an easy way to get up the fretboard to the spot where we can play a descending pattern. We're going to play the E note at fret 12, slide up to the G at fret 15, and play D and B at frets 15 and 12 of the B string. So after the E, that was a G major triad. We're then going to play the G note at fret 15 of the E string and slide to fret 17 and play an A minor triad at fret 17 of the E string, B string, and G string. We're going to play the A note again, slide into the B at fret 19, and play a B minor triad at fret 19 of the E, B, and G. And here's where we turn things around and descend. We're going to play the B note again, and we can either slide or bend to C and back to B, followed by the G at fret 15, the D at fret 15 of the B string, and slide to the C at fret 13. And now we've got a new pattern to descend with. So we played the notes of the G major triad plus the C note, which is the 4th interval of the G major scale. So we're going to play B, C, B at frets 12, 13, 12 on the B string, then the G and D at fret 12 of the G and D string, and then slide to the C at fret 10. We're going to shift to the B at fret 9 and play B, C, B again. Then G and D at fret 10 of the A and E strings. Then shift to the C at fret 8. And finish things off by playing B, C, B at fret 7, 8, 7. And slide down to the G at fret 3. Put that whole thing together and it sounds like this. And of course, you don't have to play that whole thing. You could play those patterns over just an octave or two. I just wanted to demonstrate how much of the fretboard we can cover with this concept. Let me play again for a bit over the backing track. I'll use both the Triad +1 concept that we just learned and the horizontal pentatonic patterns. Let's give it a try. Okay, we're getting around the neck pretty well. Stay with me here for a few more minutes and let's rock horizontal hack number 3. We're going to call that major scale shifts. Now, here's a 3-note per string pattern for the G major scale, starting with the G at fret 3 of the low E string. The G major scale has the notes G, A, B, C, D, E, and F sharp. Now, one of the characteristics of the major scale, and that's for any key, not just G, is that there's 2 half-step intervals in the scale. The first one is from the 3rd, or B, to the 4th, which is a C note. And the second one is from the major 7th, or F sharp, to the root, which is G. And what we're going to do is we're going to use those half steps to shift positions. And once again, it's going to open up the entire fretboard. So this is how we're going to do it. We're going to create a pattern where we play G, A, and B at frets 3, 5, 7 of the low E, then C at fret 3 of the A string, and play back down to the G we started on. Now ascend all the way to the A at fret 7 of the D string, and then play back down to the F sharp at fret 4. So there's our first pattern. And once again, it sounds like this. Now we're going to shift from the F sharp to G at the 5th fret. We just used one of those half-step intervals for an easy position shift. And now we can start our pattern over. We're going to play from G to the C at the 5th fret of the G string and back down. Then we're going to ascend to the A at fret 10 of the B string and descend back to F sharp at fret 7. Then we're going to shift a half step up to G and play to the C at fret 8 of the high E, back down to G at fret 8, and then up to the E at fret 12 of the high E string. So far, our pattern sounds like this. And now once again, it seems like we've run out of strings and frets. But once again, I've got a transition solution for you. We're going to shift up to the F sharp at fret 14 of the high E string. And we're going to descend right down the G major scale to the F sharp at fret 9 of the A string. At which point we're going to shift up a half step to G again and start things over. Now play G, A, and B at frets 10, 12, and 14 of the A string, C at fret 10 of the D string, and then back down to G. Play up to the fret 14 of the A string, which is a B note, and we're going to shift a half step to C. So now we're at fret 15. We're going to then ascend through the scale to the C note at fret 13 of the B string. And then descend back to G at fret 12 of the G string. And then play G, A, B at frets 12, 14, and 16 of the G string and shift the half step to C at fret 17. And then we're going to ascend up to the B at fret 19. Shift the half step to C and then back to B. And now we've got a major scale pattern that runs from the G at fret 3 of the low E string all the way to C at fret 20 of the high E string. That's pretty slick, but how about a descending pattern to make our way back down the fretboard? Let's play B, C, and B at frets 19, 20, and 19 of the high E string, then A and G at frets 17 and 15, and then we're going to slide down a half step to the F sharp at fret 14. Play G, A, G, and F sharp again, then E, D, and B at frets 17, 15, and 13 of the B string. And there's our new descending pattern. Our next octave, we shift to the B at fret 12 of the B string, play B, C, D, C, and B, and then A and G at frets 14 and 12 of the G string. Shift the half step to F sharp and play G, A, G, F sharp again. And finish that octave off by playing the E, D, and C at frets 14, 12, and 10 of the D string. Shift a half step to the B at fret 9, play B, C, D, and B, followed by A and G at frets 12 and 10 of the A string. Shift half a step to the F sharp, play G, A, G, and F sharp, then E and D and C at frets 12, 10, and 8 of the low E. And then we can play B, C, D, C, B one last time. Slide to A, hammer on to B, pull off to A, and slide down to G. And we've got a lick that runs from the 20th fret of the high E down to the 3rd fret of the low E. So we covered almost the whole neck, just using some repeating scale patterns and shifting on half steps within the major scale. Now let me play over the backing track again, see if I can come up with something decent using all 3 of our horizontal hacks. Here we go. Okay folks, with just a little practice, I know you'll be flying around the guitar neck and ripping it up. Practice making up licks, weaving in and out of, or combining the different concepts. You can make a lot of music with these techniques, and I know it's going to help your improvising and soloing. Work hard, always have a lot of fun with that guitar. I'm out of here now, but I'll see you soon. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.